Hello and welcome to Heart-repreneur TV. I am your co-host, Velma Gallant. I'm super excited to be here today with you and super excited to have you here with me as well. I have a very special and exciting guest to share with you today. Our topic today is Expect Magic. And Diana von Walanetz, oh man, I forgot to ask you about that, Wentworth.
That was right.
Okay, is a New York Times best-selling and award-winning author of 10 books. She was the first co-author with Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen in the popular book Chicken Soup for the Soul, and there were 500 million copies sold. As a lifetime entrepreneur, she has hosted a long-running television series with her late husband, Paul von Wellens, and founded the Inside Edge, and you can find that at insideedge.org, a weekly breakfast speaker forum in Southern California that helped launch the careers of many of the most celebrated authors and transformational speakers of the past 35 years, including Jack Canfield, Dr. Barbara DeAngelis, Dr. Susan Jeffers, and Louise Hay. She is a certified life coach and yoga teacher. Film rights to her popular romantic memoir, Send Me Someone, A True Story of Love Here and Hereafter, were purchased by the Lifetime Network. I think that's a book I'm going to have to get. So welcome to the call, Diana. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. I love the whole Heart-repreneur. I just love that take on things because I work with so many people and people are always asking me about finding just the right path and the right purpose. And I think that there's a heartstring that we can look back over our life and follow. And it's really about coming from our essence instead of our ego. And we start doing that in the world, and the world pays attention to that once you're really in that, on that perfect path.
Right. I got all tingly when you were saying that because I can see the connection between, expecting magic and connecting that heartstring to our heart. Like the magic really is in our hearts.
Absolutely. That's where our soul resides, right below the physical heart. And it's a place that we can feel very at home in and operate from if we just decide that we're not going to be so driven. Somebody asked me one time, a mentor of mine said, Diana, are you driven or drawn? And I thought, whoa, I love that question so much because it's so easy to get driven. We are this, we're women, but we have this wonderful alpha energy that we sometimes get way too caught up in. And having been an entrepreneur all my life, it's been a real journey of discerning what my the feeling that I want to have when I am operating in the world that feels most authentic and sincere.
Oh, I like that. I like taking notes. It just it really brings it into me when I do that. I love what you were sharing about are you driven or drawn? Because it's like when we're driving, it kind of reminds me of, I had a conversation online with somebody about, I don't remember how it came out, but my visual that came in when we were talking about it was, I love going on road trips. I love going on road trips. And I love them even better when I'm not the one who's driving.
Oh gosh, my late husband and we live in Palm Springs where it's so hot, in the summer. So we would go on a road trip and we would only choose where we were spending the first night. And we would call it the road trip to surrender because every day we would wake up and figure out where we were, where would be fun to go. And one of our trips was 8,000 miles in a rental car. And it was just a blast. I thought of writing a book about that, but I don't know if I'll ever get to that book. I've got so many things going on here.
I love that, road trip to surrender. And that would be an amazing book title. Like I'm there, I'm buying it if you choose to do it.
Good to know, I'll sell at least one.
At least. And I love that too, because I mean, when I was talking about the road trip originally, it was because, oh, that's what it was about. It was about the journey versus the destination,
Right. Yeah.
right? And how important it really is to stop focusing so far on the destination that we forget to enjoy the journey. And when I'm road tripping, I mean, I love the music I'm listening to. I love the scenery that's around me. I love stopping for the snacks. And if I'm
Mhm.
with someone, the conversations that we have, right? And I think too, when we are more focused on that, um, we really do get to surrender to the joy of the journey.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I love the spontaneity of it. And looking up in books, or on Yelp or something about what kind of things are in the next town that we can explore. So
Mhm.
fun. So fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what inspired you to pick the title of today's show of Expect Magic?
Oh gosh. Well, I have lived the most extraordinary life. I don't know how much you know about it, but I've had these fabulously successful careers and two marriages that were just so romantic and um, devoted and passionate. And I think there's been so much magic that's shown up. I mean,
Mhm.
from crazy things like meeting Elvis and all of that, which I predicted long before it happened, that have no other explanation. So my first memoir, "Send Me Someone: A True Story of Love Here and Hereafter," was the story of how my wonderful husband Paul von Walanetz, with whom I wrote 6 cookbooks and founded The Inside Edge, and he was diagnosed with cancer and only lived 4 months after that. But just before he passed, he said, "I don't want you to be alone." I said, "Send me someone." And he did in 2 months, and then I was married for 31 years to Ted Wentworth. So the magic thread has been there all along, but the title came from a time many years ago that I was attending a small workshop up at Brew Joy's Ranch, and there was a man there who at first I found kind of annoying, maybe because he was older than the rest of us. Oh gosh, he must have been at least 60. And here I am at 81 saying how old he was. But um, I asked him, I got so interested in him. I said, "Tell me, what is the most important thing you've learned in your life?" And he said, "Expect magic." And I thought, oh my gosh, it just went through my heart like an arrow, and I just loved it. So I've been playing with the idea of this book now for years. And I'm so happy that it's finally getting done and it's going to be published next year.
Oh, I can't wait till it comes out. I'm totally buying it. I am totally buying it
Well,
because
let
it
me tell you,
sounds
some of it's really about, I mean, it's not just about manifestation or the law of attraction or how we get what we want. What Send Me Someone was about was that my husband promised to send me someone, and then here comes Ted Wentworth 2 months later, and he has these sudden knowings, and he can sense what Paul is telling him, and it's like there was all this invisible help going on that
Mhm.
convinced me right away that he was the right person. But what really began to happen, then I began to notice that when I asked and expected magic, expected things to happen, that there's a frequency to that request. I think that the energy that we live in, the vibration that we live in, is what attracts and makes people stay away from us both ways. I mean, we can be severely depressed and walking around, and people will just turn the corner to avoid us. But if we are just like open and receptive to the highest good that can happen to us, but that alone is a great energy. And
Mhm.
so I really began experimenting with asking, and got all sorts of evidence. And I've done some wonderful wisdom circles with women around the world on the subject of expecting magic and having a frequency and asking what I call quintessential questions. The questions need to be so meaty that they attract what we really want.
Ooh,
And
okay.
and asking out loud. There's a book by the medical medium that in the appendix, he says that angels cannot act unless they are invited, that they can't just choose what they're going to do, and that the asking should really be out loud. So since I've been widowed now for the last year and a half, I have been asking really loudly. I don't have any neighbors, so I can get quite fierce with my requests. But it seems like the louder that I request, the clearer I am about what I really want to be feeling, and that it responds in kind. So I'm here to announce good tidings for everyone. There's all sorts of invisible help available to us that we don't realize yet, but we're there. We're there. I think we've evolved to the place where we can really make this work. And so that's what the book is about.
I love that. And there's a lot that I heard in there. I mean, expectations, turning up the volume. Right. Turning up the volume. And I mean, the visual that I got was, sitting down for a delightful dinner in a beautiful restaurant, and the waiter comes up to us and like, he can't read our mind. We have to vocalize it. We have to share with him what it is that we are looking for. And I can't whisper it to him.
Right.
I need to turn up the volume so that he can actually hear it. And then there's the expectations of it. I mean, we're sitting in this beautiful restaurant and we're having dinner, and I put in my order. I'm not sitting there going, oh my God, I hope he gets it right. Maybe I should grab him and bring him over again and tell him again exactly what it is that I need. Right. And so there's that peaceful expectation and that calmness of, sitting there and then having a delightful conversation as I peacefully wait for this delicious meal that I requested.
Clearly requested just right.
Exactly. So I love what you shared there, and it created such a vivid picture in my mind and in my heart about that. Turn up the volume and have your expectations and be clear on them.
Well, I've had occasions in my life where we've been wiped out financially, or where we had to change careers because it was no longer relevant. And I would reach a point of frustration that I would go alone in the bedroom, and I would not just be, pleading or humbly asking. I would be fierce. I would say, hey, I need you to help me with this now. And that is what has always brought in the biggest changes really fast. We had a time, Paul and I had a time when we'd been negotiating a television series. We had a cooking show, and it was taking way too long. And I did that. And the next day, 2 different networks called, inviting us to choose between them. So I think that there's huge abundance, very available to us. We just need to expand our expectations and trust and surrender. I think trust and surrender is the hardest part in a way. But I think if you do this long enough, you really can sense that, okay, you've done the work, you've done the ask. You're not just thinking positively, you are very specific in what you're wanting, and that it's on its way.
I love that. And there was one word that you chose there that, I really love the word you chose, and that was fierce. Because there's so much, there's energy behind it, right? But it's not aggression. It's like that. The picture that came in was Wonder Woman standing there with her hands on her hips,
right?
And it was like, this is it, right?
I know. You can even take that stance, that Wonder Woman stance, when you're making your request. It doesn't hurt,
right? But it is a beautiful and powerful word. And I think it's really something that we should bring into our vocabulary when we are talking clearly and out loud for
Mhm.
what it is that we want. Like stand there with your hands on your hips and just like declare
Yeah,
this is
one
it.
woman pose. Well, a funny thing happened about a year and a half ago. I got a call. I have to back up and tell you this story because it's so fun. I took somebody else's writing class, and there were 500 people in this writing class, and they taught. It was on Zoom, of course, and they taught how to write really, really fast without any editing or anything. And they gave us an assignment to write about something that happened in a school lunchroom. So I don't know. I just wrote really fast about how I grew 8 inches in 1 year and I had acne. And I mean, I was like 12, and I had a period that lasted for 6 weeks and all the blood all over my uniform. And I mean, I just was pouring out all this into the paper.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, the teacher looked at me and said, Diana, read us what you wrote. There's men and women both in this thing. And I just did. I just read it. And there was like total silence, after I read this thing. I think people were really shocked by it. But the next morning, I was really amazed to be feeling a certain giddiness and embarrassment, of course, about it. But I also felt a sort of an exhilaration that there was this trapped exuberance, that women have that we don't express very often. We're supposed to be more together and controlled and all of that. Well, it would be fun to teach a writing course called Women Gone Wild. So no, Women Writing Wild. So I went to GoDaddy and I bought that domain. And then I got a phone call from a man named David Fagan who said, Diana, I want you to write the foreword for a book called Women Gone Wild. And this is all within a couple of days, And so since then, I've been very involved with this book. And there is this fierceness. There is this, and women don't always know how to handle all that. But I think that we need to really get familiar with our fierceness and our clarity about what gifts we have to offer the world and how we want to offer them.
I love it. So I'm seeing a beautiful connection between some of the words that you've chosen through our conversation fierce is number one. I love that one. But what if we fiercely surrendered and drew things to ourselves?
I love it. And I'm going to steal that.
Awesome.
For sure.
Whatever it is it goes into.
Right. I love it.
So, but I think it's, and I want to discern that. I mean, this is two ladies speaking about the beauty of a woman experience, but there is nothing in the rule book that says a man cannot fiercely surrender and draw things to himself.
Absolutely. And certainly my most recent late husband was so incredibly intuitive. And his wife had died of cancer. And he decided he wanted to have a really great new wife. And he told everybody in the world that he was looking. And he had dated 130 women by the time he walked into the Inside Edge one morning. And he was just very clear that he was going to get somebody that would be really just right for him, and a spiritual match and an adventure match and all of that. And he eventually wrote a book called Build a Better Spouse Trap, which did very well.
That is so cute. I love that.
I chose the title because I thought it was so fitting to his quirky kind of Robin Williams personality. But he was very, very intuitive. So I certainly would never dream of limiting what I offer about Expect Magic to women only.
Mm-hmm. I know I'm connecting to it as a woman, but I think that there is, just like everything else, there's so much beauty in the discussion of, the road trip to surrender. Like I really love that. I love the idea of turning up the volume. I love the idea of expanding our expectations. Like it's, I'm looking at my writing, and I have, sometimes it's really beautiful and sometimes it's not. And I had written down trust and surrender, but when I looked at it just a few seconds ago, it said lust, surrender. And I'm like, ooh.
I haven't gotten to requesting in that area yet. I think it's been really interesting I was married for 56 years with an 8-month intermission.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always been married and accommodating another person's personality. As wonderful as they were, there's something about the solitude and a new feeling of sovereignty that's come over me
Mm-hmm.
that I am really milking for all it's worth, and of course I can yell out my requests now without disturbing anybody, but it's really an amazing path I've been on, and a very joyful path. I'm really excited, and I want to recommend something to you because you're writing things down. The new Microsoft Word, the more recent ones, have a little microphone up at the top, and you just push that. And I'm there's a transcript right now of everything that we say is happening right now in front of me here.
Mm.
And that saves a lot of writing and having to make a note and then put it into your computer or whatever, or wherever you might find it on a little loose piece of paper around the house. It all ends up now in my computer, and I can always mine it for meaning.
Oh, that's good. I like that too. Mine it for meaning.
We're coining a lot of phrases here this morning.
Oh, like, and to me again, like it is so beautiful because I mean, we spoke a little bit before we got on here. And I shared a little bit of my history around being divorced twice and all of that kind of thing, and how for me the experience has been, I wouldn't wish it on anyone and I wouldn't change a thing. And I do believe it's because I have mined all of those experiences for a powerful and empowering meaning.
Absolutely. I know from my own experience that I have had this natural ability to see that everything that comes into my life, as difficult as it may be, is either a gift or a curse. And that there's so much to be learned by going through the experience and staying very, very conscious. I think Gary Zukav in his latest book, The Universal Human, talks about how important it is for us to align our personality and our soul. And I really like that. But I coined a term from ego to essence. And I really feel that every one of us comes here to light up this world, that we have amazing gifts. And it's our job to find out what they are and how to most effectively use them. So every morning when I wake up, I always ask what I call a quintessential question, which is sometimes something like, how can I most effectively light up this world? And I think just that, asking that kind of a question, where's the most joy to be found today? How can this be a really fun day? Something like that, that we're setting a certain vibe and expectation and an opening. It's like a landing strip for what we want to feel in our lives. So, and I also use something which I discovered about a year and a half ago called Newcom, which is an app that you can use to meditate to. Tony Robbins doesn't, and he insists that everybody that he works with uses this. And I use it every morning. I just go into this kind of a beautiful music meditation, and I begin asking these questions. And within minutes, I begin finding myself accessing, I think, new information that I wouldn't have access to if I didn't open it with these questions.
I like that. I like that a lot. And because again, while you were speaking, one of the visuals came in while you were talking about your quintessential questions was, I wear glasses. So it was an easy visual for me was, which glasses do I want to wear today? How do I want to see the world today?
Yeah. Oh,
right?
that's good. I like that, using that as a metaphor.
Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense to me too. I mean, even if it's which headphones do I want to put on today? How do I want to hear the world? Right.
Exactly.
And how do I want to feel the world? Like we can access that same perspective, like however we perceive the world most clearly,
Yeah.
using those questions in that way for us to be able to access, open up our eyes, open up our heart,
Yeah.
in order to experience the world and pick up on
Yeah.
things. Like if I don't
It
put my
really is
glasses
about
on,
openness, isn't it? It is about, opening our eyes, opening our ears, expanding our whole beingness, so that when we go into the market, we're not like preoccupied. We can pass somebody who's got a great outfit on and say, "Wow, great outfit," or something like that.
Mhm.
When we spark that kind of joy in other people, that delight, I think that's been my thread. I just found my thread recently, and you'd think after all these years, I would have known how to say it earlier. But I've loved to spark delight. And
Mm.
all my careers have been about that. My first career was in cooking and entertaining and teaching cooking, and then on a TV show and having a cooking school that Wolfgang Puck used to teach at, and writing cookbooks and all of that. That went on for 15 years. And it was, how people are when you bake them a special little cake or something like that, they feel received. Isn't that what we want?
Mm.
We want to be received and appreciated. I mean, not so much appreciated, but like we matter to somebody and that they care about us. I mean, that's really the home feeling that I'm always conscious
Mhm.
of. And then we left the food world and started what we called the Inside Edge, which was a weekly breakfast meeting in 3 different cities. It was way before its time. It was like a power breakfast. It was before the internet. So it was all word of mouth, but people who had never written books, like, as you said, Louise Hay and Dr. Susan Jeffers and Dr. Barbara DeAngelis and Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen, decided right there in the room to do the book Chicken Soup for the Soul. So it was a time when people would walk into this room and they'd meet people who were upbeat and future focused, and we had 1,500 of the world's greatest speakers. And it was just a blast to be able to hang out with all those really creative people and just kind of like stand by like a mom in the corner and watch everybody play. I like to create a playground where people can discover fun in each other and support each other.
Well, and I mean, very clearly it created an exponential vibe that
It did.
just rippled on out from there. Like it sounds like amazing. I really, really would have loved to have been a fly on the wall, even just a fly on the wall.
Yeah, I know. It's 38 years ago that we started that. And it just, we just are now closing it down this year because you don't have to come to the Inside Edge in order to meet a whole lot of people. We have Zoom and all of that. So,
Mm,
um,
mhm. That is absolutely amazing. We covered so much brilliant information here today. I hope people walked away with even just a word that inspires them, whether it's delight, fierce, surrender, drawing something to you. Like there was so much juicy stuff in here. And I know people are going to be listening to it again and again. How can I mean, I know that they need to watch for your book coming out. Send me someone. And it
well, that one's
sounds,
already out. Yeah.
oh, that one's already out. Okay.
Like
Okay.
Magic,
So
Women Gone Wild. There's 2 editions of that coming out this year. And people can get in touch with me on my website, which is dianawentworth.com. And it's going to be brand new at the beginning of the year. So it's an upgrade.
sounds like a good time for it too. And it'll be delightful, I'm sure.
Oh, that's the key ingredient.
Okay. See, we've already got a response to that. I will watch it again on replay because our internet's not cooperating. Regina's always here. She's a beautiful support. And I know, Regina, you're going to get a lot of juicy stuff out of this. Just know it. We had David Yorka with us as well. Thanks, David, for popping in. I really enjoyed this. I'm so grateful for your time, Diana, and I'm really happy to have made this amazing connection. Thank you
Me
again.
too. You're a new friend, and I really enjoyed this interview a lot.
Awesome. And thank you to those in the Facebook group for coming and joining us. If you watch this, hit replay and tell us what you got out of this. And for those of you on YouTube, we'd love to hear what you got of value from this as well. Have an absolutely brilliant day.
Mwah.